Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the 757 Renaissance Man Podcast. Today we have a special collaboration episode. I am with my man Adam Lee and his wife Marissa Jane of the Highly Irritable Podcast. How you guys doing? Go ahead, do your thing.
We're doing good, man. So we're excited to collab with you today.
Yeah, we're doing really good.
Thank you.
And we're gonna hit you with a game show too.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. I'm not gonna hit you too bad.
So I've been checking you out, especially ever since we agreed to do the collaboration. And my first question for Adam is, what did you do on your day off?
He's going right in to piss you off.
Dude, let me tell you. Okay, so you obviously listened to Day Off, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do you relate to that question?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So and trust me, I did it to myself even worse, and I never should have published that episode. And then not only that, I went and published part 2, which resurfaced all of it again. And now everybody's heard it because now the podcast is more established. So now I'm getting messages on Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, everywhere. It's nonstop.
Yeah,
it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Be
careful what you ask for.
Exactly.
They all just want to know though, how is your day off?
Yeah. My day off is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And the only part about my day off is that it ends, right, and I have to go back to work. So, but at some point when this goes, the direction that we all want it to go in, as every podcaster does, where we support our family with it, mm-hmm, and we get to do our own thing and be our own boss, then I'm going to do another podcast and I'm going to talk about how positive my day off just became.
Right.
So it'll be the retread.
So it reminds me of when you ask, and no offense to anybody older out there, but you ever ask an old person how are they doing and they regretted it?
Yes.
Like
Daily.
I just was speaking. I just wanted to say hi. I did not want to know about the psoriasis or
your arthritis.
Right. What foods you can and cannot pass.
What time your doctor's appointment is tomorrow.
Where you lost your dentures.
Why your kids don't talk to you anymore.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, man. We often do things and set ourselves up for a lot of things that we actually didn't even wish for. And it's like too often that happens, and too often that it's really irritating that you do that to yourself and get stuck in situations you never really wanted to be in.
Yeah. So I know that your podcast came as a means of self-therapy.
Yeah.
I applaud you for that. I really applaud you for that. So how has it affected you since you've been doing it?
Well, for both of us, it's been tremendous. Depression and anxiety is something that we talk about a lot more nowadays, but I don't think the people that are talking about it genuinely know what it feels like to go through a day of that. Mm-hmm. Where, you're texting your significant other saying, I can't do this anymore. And, I think I'm going to check myself into an outpatient or inpatient therapy center because, I'm having thoughts that I don't want to have. Mm-hmm. We went to Disneyland probably 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I had the whole thing set up. We had 3 days set up to basically go there. We were staying in a hotel, got a badass hotel that was 5 feet away from Disneyland. We were connected to the world, so you could drive, go anywhere. Mm-hmm. I got off work. I was having an anxiety attack. Didn't know it. Thought I was having a heart attack. Mm-hmm. Went to the hospital. They told me, you're fine. Maybe you want to check yourself into therapy. And at first I was like, I don't need therapy. I'm a recovering addict. Like, I've been through the worst. There's no way anything could really get me down, like, for real. I've got a higher power. I'm just going to pray. That's all I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And so I went and got the kids, picked Marissa up, and we went up to Disneyland. And that night I ate something, went to sleep, woke up, and we had a throat closing, full blown, couldn't breathe, couldn't see, felt like I was going to black out, was seeing stars, panic attack.
Okay.
And basically told my wife, I said, I can't do this. We need to leave. And I was crying. She had to drive us home, which she doesn't drive. Usually I drive because I'm a control freak and I need to drive. Mm-hmm. And it started there. It was like, when we got home, I looked her in the face and said, I never knew that this existed. And now I know what you're going through, because she's been battling this her whole life. Okay. We both had a very rough childhood with memories that we both don't want. But they're there. And, this show has been a means of a way to cope with that and get it out and kind of make fun of it, but also address it for both of us, because it's, we're a very successful married couple. And when I say successful, I don't mean money. I mean, we're successful in love, and we're successful in our relationship because we built it around trust and a spiritual guidance. And we live by that creed every day. So, I was brutally honest with her, and I told her, this is what I'm going through. She cried. I cried. Booked a therapist the next, 2 days later?
Yeah.
Went and got a therapist. They obviously tried to put me on medication. I told them I'm a recovering addict. I am not going to take medication. I'm not going to relapse.
Yeah.
Worked on my weight. I dropped down from 297 I'm down to 215 now, okay. I think, or 220. I just weighed myself. I gained 5 pounds because I've been eating Kit Kat bars. And then, I started working on myself mentally and physically, because I never have done that. I've always been a blue collar work guy. And I always was raised that, you got to go to work, you got to pay the bills, and you've got to protect your family and blah, 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 blah. But I never really took the time to take the inner course sets on myself and do the mandatory work that it takes. And this podcast, Highly Irritable, came from that. It came from all the stuff that was bottled up inside of me. And one day I looked at her and I said, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast. And she's like, what? Like, where did it come from? And I was like, You know what? I write comedy in my sleep, which is really crazy because I have insomnia. So like in the middle of the night, I could literally write 70 pages of comedy. And I will literally have a full-blown stand-up comedy set ready to go. So I figured, why not do a podcast? Because I don't want to do stand-up anymore. I don't like it. I don't like the traveling, and I don't like having to barrel down jokes all the time. I like this raw session, where you and I right now are spitting on a podcast. People are going to listen to it, and they're either going to like it or they're not going to like it.
Right.
But you also have the means of talking to people that are in your niche. So therefore you can relate to a lot of things and you don't have to go through the negative banter. So we came up with Highly Irritable. It was a dream I had, and it was like a bright neon light in the middle of the night. I was slept for 20 minutes, and in that 20 minutes I had a dream, and the name Highly Irritable popped up, and that was it. I woke up and told her, we're doing a show and we're going to talk about our therapy, and we're going to put everything out on the line, and you can either be with me or I'll do it by myself. I don't care. And she wanted to be with me because we both battled the same thing. We both battled depression and anxiety on a high level. And as a result of this podcast and a result of lots of work, we have come so far, man. Like, I haven't had an anxiety attack in a really long time. And if it does happen, I know how to recognize it now.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of things I want to unpack there. First, the name is perfect. The moment you told me the name, I was like, I'm there for it. I'm with it. Yes. I need to know more. I need to know why is he highly irritable. So yes, the name is perfect. But I also want to touch on what you were saying about having a successful marriage. And you're absolutely right. The things that make a successful marriage are priceless. It's not the stuff you can buy. It's not the gifts. It's the time and the effort and the memories and making kids. That's the stuff that makes a successful marriage. And that's the stuff that's going to have you guys together 20, 30 years down the road.
Yeah.
A car break down. You could lose a ring. But if you got that real connection, that's priceless.
Yeah. And we do. I mean, I got to tell you, we should have never met, but we did.
Right.
I'm 14 years older than her.
Okay.
My first conversation with her was, I'm a smoker. I do what I want when I want. I'm a drug addict. And you can take me or leave me. It's up to you.
It was something along those lines. It was like, I smoke, I gamble, and I'm an asshole. So take it or leave it.
When did the conversation about the cocaine and the stripper come?
Oh my God.
Like the first night?
No. I think we were already married. Like he had already tied me down and then was like, oh, by the way.
No, we weren't married. No. So here's the crazy part. When we first met, I was a bachelor and I had finally fallen in love with myself to where I could live with myself. I didn't need anybody. Yeah. I was happier by myself in my house by myself. And when she met me, I brought in 2 roommates and both of them were alcoholics. And they were both, they'd smoke weed every night. And I surrounded myself with that, even being a recovering addict. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have a problem. Like, it wasn't like I needed what they had. So, like, I distanced myself from them quite a bit anyways, and I worked so much that it didn't really matter. But when she moved in, it was like, how do you hide those stories from her if those 2 are around? Because they both knew me better than anybody. So it was like, they'd start shooting the shit about, remember when Adam did this?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, she's like, what the hell? Like, what did I get myself into?
It was very interesting, to say the least. They had a lot of stories.
Yeah, like her past is the darkness comes from stuff that she couldn't control.
Yeah.
And my past comes from stuff that I did because of things I couldn't control and made it worse. Mm-hmm. She kind of came out of her past like a phoenix. She did her own thing. She bought her own car. She had her own money. She didn't let people help her. She hated that. And when the 2 of us met, it was, it was like we had this really weird connection. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it works.
So, Marissa, what was the most shocking thing you found out about him?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question.
That is a great question.
The most shocking thing, I don't think anything really shocked me about him because he was very open and honest. He does not hide things from people. So I would say nothing really shocked me about him. And I don't really judge people whatsoever. So it might sound weird, but I'm actually very intrigued by all of his stories because I know that that's not the person that he is anymore. It's like a past self. So I separate the 2. So he can tell me stories about his exes and doing blow off of a stripper's ass and, drug deal runs and all these things. And to me, that's a different person. So it's like I'm hearing stories about somebody else. And I love to hear it. Like, I'm here for it. I'm like, oh, and tell me about that one time that you broke down with like 10 bags of Coke in your trunk. Because that's not who he is. So like, nothing surprises me anymore. Like, I love the stories. I would never want to go back there. Like, Bonnie and Clyde to the end, but I don't want to do that with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say anything surprises me. No, I love those stories. I find it also interesting because when we met, I just turned 20. So I didn't get to experience those things. Like I didn't do my drug runs and my bar hops and my crazy nights and things like that. I mean, you know, like you have your wild high school nights and stuff, but like what he has experienced in life, I have not experienced. So I feel like I always tell him he has experienced enough for the both of us. So his stories are our stories.
Well, and I don't think my stories sometimes are really movie, like you can't believe them, but they happened. Didn't want them to, but they did.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
But you can't take it back because that's what made you the man you are today.
Yes. And, you know, there's two types of knowledge in this world. There's book smarts knowledge and there's street knowledge. And I think the street hustler, the street knowledge person always makes it out on top 90% of the time because they have that out of the box thinking that a bookworm doesn't. So I love it. I love my past. I've come to grips that I love my past and I've forgiven myself and forgiven the people that, you know, have done me wrong. And hopefully one day, you know, I can truly make amends 100%, which is actually the end game, right? Everyone wants to make amends with anyone that they've had issues with. And I would say that's my one wish is that I could make amends with everybody that I wronged because I did a lot of damage, man. Like a lot of damage that's still not repaired to this day. There's still hate and anger between certain people that, you know, I can't fix it. So it's up to them now.
Okay. All right, your turn, Flip. Your turn to ask me a question.
Okay, cool. So, Renaissance 757, right? That's the name of the show.
757.
757.
Yeah.
Which I love this name, and I love the fact that it's Renaissance Man. Do you see yourself as a Renaissance man?
I do.
So knowledgeable. You got that, you know, you sort of got the, what's the word I'm looking for? The swagger. You sort of got the swagger of a Renaissance man.
Yeah. So it came about. I'm really into history, and one of my favorite time periods is the Harlem Renaissance, because there was so much music and art and poetry, and you know, and all these artists vibe together, and I live in the 757 Hampton Roads, Virginia area. And if you know anything about that area, we have something similar going on right now. Like that's where Missy Elliott is from, Timberland. I went to high school with Magoo, Pharrell. And there's a lot of artists here and there's a lot of musicians here. And it's like a hub right now. So that's what reminded me and that's what made me come with that name. Because my show is to recognize people from that area, but also to bring value of like you guys, for example. I think your story brings value to people from this area too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you actually went to school with some of these people.
Yes.
Do they still come around?
Yes. Pharrell actually had our first real big music festival called Something in the Water. And yeah, they had to cancel it last year because of COVID. But the year before it was Pharrell. It was all kind of, I can't even name all the artists that came. It was in Virginia Beach, on the beach. Jay-Z. Wow. There was so many people that came. Like almost anybody Pharrell made a record with was there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Not only hip hop, but rock bands and everything, R&B artists, and it was great. So yeah, they come around a lot, and they still do things here in the community, and yeah, you'll see them from time to time.
So, what inspired you to decide one day I'm going to buy a microphone, a headset, and a mixer, and I'm going to put up a podcast, and I'm going to start talking about the things that I'm passionate about?
COVID. But it started out.
Everybody.
right. It started out, I've always been into multimedia. I've had, my corporate job was always doing something with multimedia. I used to work for a company that did corporate video conferencing. And I mean, like, I just look at a picture that came across my desk today. That was like 12 years ago. And they would do where these big corporations would have these big wall units, like 10 feet by 6 feet tall. So when you walk in a room, it's like you're looking into the room that you're teleconferencing into. And when you sit down, you're like one-to-one with the person in front of you, like they're sitting across the table with you. So I used to do that kind of stuff. And I've always had one foot in the entertainment industry. And then my son got an interest in YouTube. And I was like, well, it was an excuse for daddy to buy some equipment. So,
yeah.
But then COVID hit because I wanted to do like a vlog channel and, you know, going around and talking to people, interviewing people. And that kind of changed my focus. And I was like, since I got all this equipment here, let's make it work. I'm stuck in a house. I ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Let's have it. And, you know, in a way almost similar to your story where it's like therapy. Like I have 2 podcasts. One is the 757 Renaissance Man. And the other one is called LVAD Talks. Well, LVAD stands for Left Ventricle Assist Device. And
for hearts.
Yes, for hearts. So half of my heart doesn't work. And I have a pump in it. And normally I have this bag across me. And these are my batteries. And this cord, let's see if I can get the camera, goes under my shirt, into my chest, up to my heart. And
so Shawn, check this out. So I support the Red Heart Foundation, the American Red Heart Foundation. There's a person that I know personally, a family friend. I don't want to mention them on the podcast because I don't want them to get any unnecessary type of exposure. But the person that I know and love has watched me grow up. He was my coach. He was my mentor. Super healthy dude. Married a woman. She has the same issue you have. Her heart doesn't work. So she's got a full-time pacemaker and a full-time, I think it keeps the heart pumping.
I have one too.
Yeah. So they ended up having kids together and the doctor said that, no, it's not hereditary. Don't worry about it. Well, both the children got it. Crazy.
Yeah.
So both the children are going through what you're going through. And then my coach, who has always, he was a collegiate athlete, like full blown, like played USC. I can't remember if it was USC or not, but starting quarterback. So that just gives you what kind of an athlete he was. He's good at golf. He's good at basketball. He's good at everything. Was on a run one morning, blacked out, woke up in the hospital. He had a widowmaker. Found out that his heart's not functioning. So 4 people in that family that have a bad heart. So man, I'm sorry to interrupt you, what you were telling me, but I got much love and respect for you on that front. I did not know that that's what you're doing. So what a blessing for you to get a podcast and be able to do these things and live your life, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And spread awareness to people who don't know about it.
And it's for, like, you know, all of those, it's an interview style podcast. And it's primarily because a lot of people don't know about it until it's too late and you have to have one. So
can you say the name again to that podcast?
It's LVAD Talks. LVAD Talk.
Left ventricle
assist device.
Wow. I'm going to definitely give you some props on that one.
And it's stories of people who went through the surgery or have gone through it. So it's either 2 things. Either you get it in its destination or you get it as a road to transplant. And right now I'm trying to use it as a road to transplant. The cool thing is, you know, we were talking earlier, I'm a nerd, so I'm a cyborg. It don't get no cooler than that.
Yeah. I did read that too.
Yeah, I'm real life Iron Man. Come on now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and before we even started doing the podcast, you and I were hitting it off with my Lego set. Yeah.
So, and that's what it's for. And to tell people, you know, what it's like, what to expect. You know, to kind of give people hope, because a lot of people think, you know, now I got this little bag and I can't do nothing. The only thing it stops me from doing is getting in water.
You got to live your life.
Yeah,
and you can't be scared.
If I didn't have it, I'd be dead now. So there's that. You know.
And I know what you're going through because obviously I see what the other family does too. You know, so and with this COVID thing, man, it's really scary with people with pre-existing conditions. I mean, I know that my friends, they've had their daughter cooped up forever. And I mean, all she can do is cook, and she couldn't see her, they have special things for her, like horses and stuff, to keep her depression down so she doesn't, get stressed out, because stress creates problems with your heart, and they can't have that. So it's just wild, man. A lot of respect for you. That is unbelievable. Good for you.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Gotta do something. I figured God gave me this equipment. Let's use it.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that, Shawn, you and I are on Clubhouse as well. That's where we met. And so is Marissa. But the funny thing is if you think about all these people that you and I talk to, or Marissa talks to, or anybody in your life, everybody has a story that is worthy of a film. It's just how you direct it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So if you are terrible at telling stories, let someone else do it. Exactly. And I'm talking to the aspiring podcasters or the aspiring film writers, or the people that are sitting there not chasing their dream. Shawn and I are chasing our dream. Shawn, me, and Marissa, we're going after it. We're collabing 2 podcasts. For all my fans on Highly Irritable, Shawn is quite an amazing person. I know you guys heard just kind of a gist of it, and I've only asked him a few questions, but you guys got to check his podcast out and kind of dig into what he's all about, because it's definitely interesting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I think we both have that experience. Like you touched on how, you had your experiences with drugs and things, and coming back from it. When you have experiences like that, it makes you value your day-to-day life a lot more.
Yes, it's much more polarizing.
Yeah. Because at one time, my heart was down at 5%.
Wow.
I was running around taking care of the kids, and at the same time, my wife had pancreatic cancer.
Oh my God.
I was taking care of her, and I wasn't even thinking about me and my health. And all of it just kind of came together.
Did your wife make it through the pancreatic cancer?
No, she passed 6 years ago.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I have, what I got to tell you, I just was listening to a show the other day, and it was like everybody was talking about how pancreatic cancer seems to be the worst one, because I've never heard anyone get out of it.
No, it is. It's that's what killed Alex Trebek.
Yeah, exactly. Cancer. Well, that's where I was listening to the show about, because someone had said another famous person had died from pancreatic cancer, and they couldn't get through it. It's like, what do you need these organs in your body if just one fails? Just think, that's how precious we are. And that's how precious time is. I mean, how long were you and your wife married before she passed?
We were together for 15 years. We were married for 10.
Damn. Yeah. I'm so sorry to hear that, brother.
But
that's
don't
crazy.
be, because we don't regret anything.
Yeah.
And we were able to, so she was kind of young when she was diagnosed. She was in her younger 30s. So they were able to be very aggressive. And most of the time when you're diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, you have weeks to months to live. Well, we were lucky. We were blessed. We got 2 years. So in that 2 years, we were able to make a bucket list, do most of the things that she wanted to do. She was able to give me instructions on how to carry on. So, I don't have any regrets. And this is funny. This is funny how God times things. I found out about my whole heart condition. It was 2015 in February. I remember because I was in the hospital on my birthday, which is February the 24th. I had my surgery for my LVAD on March the 2nd, which is my daughter's birthday. I got out the hospital maybe in the middle of March. She was well enough that she nursed me back to health. I got on my feet. We still had 2 or 3 months together, and that's when her health started declining. I was able to take care of her. So, even though, yes, it's a rough time, I think the timing was perfect.
Yeah. Well, and she still lives because you still have her in your mind.
My kids look like her, so,
Yeah.
Well, and you're doing something that you can bring her presence around at any time, and I'm sure that you would definitely take that, take advantage of that type of situation.
Yeah.
I had a question, and now it just he threw me off with that.
Yeah. I mean,
my bad.
It's hard not to, because your story is so inspiring. Like, I love your
really
story.
Is.
Thank you.
No, I do. Shoot, man, we're going to have to do this again, though.
Okay.
Where we do it again and kind of reconvene. I like chopping it up with you, but what'd you say?
You're shaking the table.
Oh, sorry. It's my feet. It's my feet.
So my question for you is, you're very California, but I can see some East Coast vibes. With the chain and the AKs, the glasses. Where does that come from?
Well,
marrying an Italian.
Yeah.
All my family from the East Coast.
Okay.
The funny thing is I've never had my own culture. Okay. And I grew up in a Spanish city. Like, we had more Mexican people there. Okay. And, like, all my friends were Mexican, and, like, I had white friends, but they weren't culturist, or they weren't like into culture, so I grew up on tamales and salsa and stuff. Okay. And, I always tell people, like, I wish I was born black, because I feel like I vibe more with them. And I feel like I vibe more with Mexican people as well. Okay. Like, even she does too. Like, we just have things that we're more into than what our culture is into. Like, it's just, that's just the way it is, And this really comes from music, to be honest, because I'm such a big fan of music. Yeah. And, I don't wear this around the house. I only wear it for the podcast, and it's only for Adam Lee, which is my alter ego. Okay. And it's like, that's who I would want to be. I would want to be like Grandmaster Flash, or what's his name? Rev Run. Okay. I'd want to be like Rev. Like, those are the people I grew up on, that I'm inspired by. You know what I mean? Snoop inspired me. Dre inspired me. I listen to that music, even though I love rock and roll and I love all aspects of music. I should have been born a black man. That's all there is to it. Okay. I'm into that culture. Like, so I had a buddy named Marvin, and he did the same thing you did. He's like, dude, you got a lot of soul in you, like, more than most people I met, because I'm always like, I'm rolling up to work, bumping, Tech Nine or something like that. And he was like, dude, you got a lot of soul in you. Where does that come from? And I was like, I don't know. This is what I vibe with. So he ended up taking me to all these places where they had Southern food, really good Southern food with, collard greens and all that stuff. And, I got fired from the job because I went down there for lunch and stayed there for 4.5 hours and dragged out like 6 friends, and we couldn't stop talking about like black culture and black history. And I was so into it. Like, when you mentioned that you were into Harlem in the 60s and stuff, I swear to God, that's the show next. Like, if we do another collab, I want to do a collab on that, because I'm into that type of music too. Like, oh my God, that movie, the movie they made, American Gangster, with Denzel Washington. Right. Do you remember that one? Yeah. That is one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in the history of movies. And it's all Harlem music. Yeah. Yeah. From the 70s.
And it's based on, real life.
It is. Yeah. Frank Lucas. And like,
and the funny Johnson thing is, and yeah. And all of them used to hang out with like Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong and what's my poet? Langston Hughes. And yeah.
And the Champ, they used to hang out with with what's his name? Joe Frazier. Yep. All those guys, like that. I think that like that type of place inspires me for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I have family from Chicago, so I mean, and but I didn't grow up with them. I really do think that it was growing up with the mixture I had in the city that I was in, and playing baseball with these guys and doing the stuff that I did with them, that gave me the vibe that I had today. And then I kind of took my own piece from it. Like, when I watched American Gangster, part of me wishes that I would have been Frank Lucas. Okay. I wanted to be him. No joke. Like, I would love, like, secretly inside, a piece of me wants to be a massive drug dealer and have that kind of power and that kind of presence. And I know it sounds funny, but like there's not a person in this world that doesn't watch a gangster movie or something like that that doesn't want to be in that situation, because if they didn't, they wouldn't watch it.
Kind of like idolize them.
Yeah, and I do idolize them, unfortunately. But those people gave me the vibe I have today. So yeah, I wear the gold chain. You know, I listen to that stuff and I vibe with it, and I love people. You know what I mean? Like her and I had a podcast a while ago where we talked about like all kinds of stuff, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I just love people. I love vibes. I love cultures. I love the music, and I think that, you know, the music for me pulls it all together.
But I think that's one of the coolest things about California, that you have so many cultures mixed in together.
Yeah.
And California itself is one state, but depending where you at, it's like it could be 4 or 5 different states for real.
Yes.
And, you know, from you got the mountains to the beach to it's everything. You got a little bit of everything in California.
It's, you know what, we're so fortunate. We really are. Like, you can go anywhere you want to and find whatever you want to find. There's little Italy's up and down California. There's little China's up and down California. There's if you want to see some real culture, you go down to Cesar Chavez Parkway in San Diego, and you basically will be standing in an area that's almost like Mexico. And it's you know, it's the beautiful music, it's the homemade dresses, it's the food, and families sitting down there having church and hanging out. And well, actually, you know what? I can't answer this question. I just never brought it up on air, right? So I will admit this. My father, when my mom and dad divorced, my father became an evangelistic Christian. And we ended up going to an all-black church.
Okay.
And so every Sunday, I was in Oceanside with an all-black church, and I was the only white kid in that church. And we did everything together, and my best friends were in that church, and I still talk to some of them today. So that's kind of where the
influence came from.
The influence came from, and me saying like I should have been born black, because I fit in with them immediately, and there was no judging.
Summed it up with that right there, but instead he took you on like a roller coaster tangent.
I did, because I had to remember, you know, like where it all came from.
Where it all like originated, like stemmed from, yeah.
And that's really where it stemmed from, because like I said, they took me in like I was their own, and back then that wasn't cool. Like that wasn't what we were, outsiders there, you know, and even though it was church, there was still a little bit of, you know, what are you doing here? And that was with any community in California, because, you know, we have the Somalians, or not Somalians, but the Samoans. Samoans don't let everybody in. You know, the Mexicans don't let everybody in. The black community doesn't let everybody in. And, you know, if you get lucky to get let in, that's, you take it and run, you know, like, and I loved it. It was like, I just wanted to be that. Like, I want to be Dr. Dre. I want to sit behind a freaking turntable and light up 50,000 people. But I also want to be Rob Zombie and play a guitar and light up 100,000 people too. You know, like I want it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love everybody's vibe. I just love people. Like, they're so interesting. Everybody, like I said, has a story that could be a movie. It's just, how do you produce it?
Awesome. All right, your turn. Question.
So, do you have a question for Sean?
Well, I was going to ask you for like a little background, but you gave it to me already.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to know about your family and your kids and, you know.
Well, I got 2 kids. I have a son that's 10, a daughter that's 14. That's what I'm struggling with most, is the daughter
that's 14. Yeah, you're right there. Like those teenage years. Oh my gosh.
I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's kid. And, you know, the stereotype of preacher's kids is mildly true. So I was a little mischievous when I was a kid.
Right.
So I'm thinking about how I was when I was a kid. And, you know, climbing through bedroom windows and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Did you do a blow off of a stripper's ass?
Not yet, but I might.
It's okay.
I got a heart condition. I don't know about the blow, but
yeah. What are you trying to do?
Kidding.
But so I experienced some things, so I know what to look out for, but it's real funny. It's like my kids are really naive, and like they don't realize who daddy used to be.
Yeah.
But it's cool in one way, but I kind of wish they will have some of those experiences that I had. So I had a real interesting upbringing. My father was a minister. He also was a officer in the Navy. He was one of the few black officers in the Navy at that time. So when I was born, this is like middle 70s, early 80s. And my mom's a teacher who used to be a former Black Panther.
Nice.
Right. So I had that whole little duality thing going on. And
you had.
Yeah, because he's military, strict officer, and then she's, rebellious
Freedom.
Black Panther. Right.
Free
spirit.
Yeah, so I had that going to go. And because he was in the military, he was an officer, I got to travel the world. So I got to meet all kinds of people.
Yeah.
But in the same time, I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, it used to be an all white neighborhood, but turned into a black neighborhood. And it's really weird to kind of experience. Like I went to school with people who their parents were either they were nurses, they worked for the shipyard, which is a big industry down here. They were in the military, but we had a certain section that everybody wanted to be boys in the hood, but really didn't have to be boys in the hood. So I grew up with, hustlers and stuff like that too. But when you grow up that way and you the nerdy guy, they'll do certain things around you, but after a while they'll send you home. Like, no, you can't be a part of this.
They protect you.
Right. You too smart. You gotta go. So, but I still have that vibe. So like I can go anywhere and chill out with anybody. I've been around presidents. I've been in the hood, so I've been to the projects in Brooklyn and walking out of it, so I have that experience, which, and my kids don't get it. Like they just think daddy was always been daddy and, I ain't never seen anything. And yeah, so
you got to give them story times. You got to tell them all the crazy things.
But I don't want them to try some of it.
Right.
Like my son would try it.
Older.
Yeah, my son definitely would try it. What daddy did, I could do it. So I'm like,
I think I'm going to leave it up to them. Like if they ask me about it, I'll be 100% transparent.
Yeah.
Like if someone tells them a story and they're like, Dad, I heard this about you, or I listened to your podcast and you said this, tell me about that. I'm going to be 100% transparent with them because they deserve that.
Yeah.
But I'll also explain to them the hard road that I took.
Right. Well, we want them to try to learn from.
And that jail's not fun.
Right. Our experiences.
So my jail story is I've only been to jail once. It was 45 minutes, and it was the longest 45 minutes in my life.
And what'd you do to get there?
Okay. I told you my dad was an officer in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
So I hung out with people older than me. And one of my friends he was a young officer in the Army. So I might have been, I know how old, because that's one of the reasons I went to jail. I know how old I was. I was 20 and he was like 23, 24. And he had just got back from Germany and he had a German BMW. And I'm a car nut anyway.
Yeah.
And he had the long European license plates on it. And it was like a 525 or something that you couldn't get over here in America. And I wanted to drive his car. So we went fishing one day, and one of the best places to go, and this is before 9/11, so you can go, you have freedom to go on and off the base. So one of the best places around here to fish is on NOB. NOB is Norfolk Naval Base, and it's the biggest naval base in the world. But it takes it's like a half of the city of Norfolk. and it runs up the coast. So one of the best places to go fishing is like a little spot on the base. So
what kind of fish is there?
All kinds
Everything?
of fish, rockfish,
Saltwater or fresh?
Salt, because it's right at the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. So you got some good mixture of fish in there.
At the bay that leads out to the ocean, because that's how the aircraft carriers get to the ocean from that
right.
bay. So, of course, you're going fishing. You get your little cooler, and I was always the youngest dude, right? So get your little cooler, you get your little beers. You do more drinking than you do fishing, but you're just kicking it outside. So, and at the time, I wasn't a drinker yet. I hadn't graduated to the acquired taste yet. I still thought beer was nasty,
You're right.
So we're fishing just to hang out with him. I crack one with beer and I sip about half of it. Really didn't like it. But in my mind, I was plotting on how can I drive this BMW. Got to drive the BMW. So I was like, hey, man, let me drive your BMW. I got to use the bathroom. Let me go to the McDonald's. No, I'm a guy. I really could have went to the bushes and whipped it out and did what I needed to do. But
I got to go to McDonald's.
Right. I wanted to drive the BMW. The McDonald's is right off of base. Right. So he's like, all right, man, because he knew I wanted to drive the car. So he gave me the keys. I got in the car. I drive to the McDonald's. I used the bathroom. I was in a car club at that time. And on the way out of the McDonald's, I saw somebody in my car club. So, of course, I had to be seen in the BMW with the long European license plates, right? So I pull up to him, meep. He looks at me, I look at him, and we take off. And it's a major street, and then there's a curve that leads into the base. So we hit that curve, and I curve off to the base, and he keeps going. But at the same time, like, I'm still flying. So I didn't know that the chief of police of the base was sitting there with one of his deputies, and they just happened to be testing out the new radar machine.
Oh.
They weren't even trying to catch anybody. They was just testing it out.
Wrong place, the wrong time.
Yeah. So I fly through doing about 80 miles per hour in a 25. In the foreign BMW. And I see them pull out, and I'm like, oh, okay.
What color was the car? Do you remember?
Black.
Oh, yeah.
So I see him pull out, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could hit this corner and jump out the car. And I almost, if I was just if I was a couple pounds lighter, I might would have got away with it.
Right.
As I pulled around the corner to get ready to jump out, it's a new car. I don't know how to get out the car.
Oh.
The handles it's a BMW. At the time, I was driving a Pontiac, so it was real different.
Way different.
So I'm stuck in the car, and they pull up behind me. But I'm close enough to my friends where they can see me. So they start walking down towards me. So I learned a valuable lesson that day. So the cop pulls up to me, and I learned the power that your mouth has. And he walked up to me. I rolled down the window. And he said, son, I was a cop for 20 years, and I can't afford a car like this. What are you doing? And without a beat, I should have shut up. But without a beat, I said, well, I guess you made the wrong career choice, huh?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Pulled out through the window.
Oh, you totally jabbed him.
Pulled me out through the window.
Cry.
Put the handcuffs on me.
Just went after his manhood.
Extra tight. The tightest they could put the handcuffs on me.
Yeah.
He gets in my face like, ooh, I smell alcohol.
Oh, no.
So then he gives me the little breathalyzer.
Yeah.
But I only had a couple sips. So the little portable breathalyzer wasn't picking up. And at this time, my buddies had got here, and he was like, look, I'm Lieutenant such and such. This is my car. I let him drive it. He was like, you can have a car. But this little dude is coming down with me.
Yeah. So I'm going to have some fun with this guy.
Right.
Did you have to go to the brig?
Threw me in the back of the car, took me to the police station, and made me sit in a little room where the real breathalyzer was.
Yeah.
So I had read something somewhere that if you put a penny in your mouth So I was looking for pennies and but I got handcuffs on, right?
Yeah.
And I got one in there. Some kind of way to do was like spit it out. So they made me, I can say this now because statute of limitations is over, and I told my mom, so we're good.
Yeah.
So they put me on the real breathalyzer, right? And I blew on a real breathalyzer, and it was just enough to register that I had alcohol. Now, this was maybe 2 weeks before my 21st birthday. And if I was 21, I would have walked. There wasn't nothing they could do. But I was underage.
Oh.
So you got minor and all that stuff.
Yeah, I took my license and I hid it from my parents. And yeah. So with that said, it was about 15, 20 years before I came out and told my mom that story.
That's crazy.
It's so funny because to this day, he tries to tell his mom about things that he's done in the past, and she still doesn't believe him. Oh, Adam,
she doesn't.
Stop. You never did that.
But then I told her, she was like, I knew.
Oh.
See, mine didn't. She was that naive.
But it came out because, like we were saying, I was telling the kids the story, and she was there. You know, because they asked me, Daddy, have you ever been to jail? And that's how it came out.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't want to tell you how many times. The worst part about me going to jail is that my dad was in law enforcement. Okay. And multiple times I went to the jail that he worked at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to go see his dad. He was just wanting to go visit.
And so, you know, obviously when he saw me walking in, it was like, yeah, just have a field day with him. He won't say nothing.
Wow.
You know, he thought he was doing the right thing. Maybe if one time he would have just protected me, I might have had a different outcome. Like, okay, I won't go back, Dad. But instead it was like, I'm just going to act out because, you know, I'm not getting the attention I need.
Right. Attention thing.
Which is what it all boils down to, you know?
Yeah.
No, but I gotta say, like, thank you for doing this because I didn't know what I was gonna get from this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when you hit me up and said, hey, let's mash it up. You know, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, wow, we are so different. Like our two angles in our podcast are so different. Like, you know, you interviewed a gospel guy. He's got a good gospel career with music for the church.
Yeah, he won the Stellar Award.
Yeah, and I thought, what a great interview, you know. But those are so. I mean, but now that I'm sitting here,
it's my duality though. So I grew up with that side, but I grew up with the hip hop side too. So
correct.
I got it.
Well, which is,
you know, that's the people I know, so that's who I got to interview. You know.
Yeah, you have to be like very well rounded, and I feel like you are. Like you.
But I knew that we had enough similarities but enough differences that this was going to be cool.
See, like when I was like, no, when you said it, I listened to your show and stuff, and I'm like, you know, I see where he's coming from because we do have very different podcasts, but almost the same. But I was also like, during this whole entire interview, I'm sitting here going, dude, like, there's so many similarities between us as people, maybe not our podcast, but as people, we have a lot in common. So I'm super stoked that I did this because I didn't know what to take out of this. And it was like, you know, what are we going to get out of this? Who knows, you know, but
it's like what to expect. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Like, I don't know, you know, you never know. I mean, you got to take the chance though, but I'm glad I did, dude, for real. Like, this has been fun.
Yeah,
and
man.
I, you know,
it's all about making connections. And so now when I come to California, I got somebody to crash with.
You come stay at my house for sure. You bring your whole family, dude. You're welcome.
And then I'll take you all over to Cali. The East Coast, same here.
Yeah.
We'll break out
that grill for you.
That's what I'm talking about. But no, I think you know, I was going to do the game show with you, but I there's no need for it. I think that just being able to sit here and mash it up with you and kind of like interview was just perfect.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Don't you think?
And I think we made, like I said, lifelong connections. So anytime you have any questions, hit me up. I'm definitely going to hit you guys up. And
let's do this again, though. Let's run it back again.
This is definitely not going to be the last one. No.
Yeah, I want another crack at this. Like, I want one more crack because there's so many different avenues we could go down that I enjoyed. I enjoyed it like a lot. Didn't you? Yeah. Like, I want to do this again where we mix it up. And plus, I want my listeners to get a piece of what you have to offer too, because it's so interesting. Like, the two worlds where gospel meets the hood. Mm-hmm. That's like, that was my whole childhood.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so interested in what you have to say, because that's so true. Like I think all of us have the dualities, like everybody has the two sides that. Just like there's two sides to a story, there's two sides to a human. You can't really base it off of what you're looking at, your front end, because I'm the worst host in the world. And the reason why is because I'm the guy that reads the back of the book and says, screw the plot. I don't want to read it. I'd rather read the back of the book and make my own assumption. Mm-hmm. So that's why I love podcasting, because it always does this to me, where we get into the middle of a podcast and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Nice.
This turned out way better than I thought, Nice. So funny. But this is, for my listeners and for your listeners, all I can say to everybody is never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And if you think someone's not interesting, they are. Trust me.
Mm-hmm. Everybody has a story.
Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe we could do a collab with the kids too.
Yes, yes. Cash will definitely be into that.
Or even a collab about our kids. All things irritable.
Yeah.
Because they do get me irritable.
Right?
Especially the 14-year-old girl right now.
Right. That's I need to know about his background. I need to know how old his kids are, like what he's going through right now. Like that's what interests me.
Yeah, I know.
The parenting side of things.
We can have a virtual cookout. How about that?
Yeah, we'll do something. Cool. Or maybe we could do, maybe you and I could do, the next time what we'll do is we'll both go for the live aspect of it, because I know you and I were talking about doing a live show.
Okay.
We could do our first live broadcast together to where we merge both our audiences. That way it's way bigger than it would have been just doing it on your own.
Okay. That's dope.
Because, I'll drag all my people from Facebook and from TikTok and from stupid Instagram and all that stuff. And, we can we could do a club room in Clubhouse at the same time, do one big live event with a podcast and just have a fun time with it.
Sky's the limit, man.
You know what I'm saying? We got to mod a couple rooms, the three of us together, and try to drag some people in so they can get to know us,
Yeah, I haven't seen you on Clubhouse.
It's hard because, I do everything. So I'm doing the booking and the interviewing and the editing. And one of the things I'm going to pick your brain about is the marketing, because I like the way you're doing your marketing. And it's just so hard. So when I'm on Clubhouse, it's whenever I can grab a chance. And usually in the evening while I'm editing too. So I got one ear in Clubhouse and one ear in my computer. So
like today I wrapped up like everything from the last interview we did with Devin Attard. Mm-hmm. So it took me 6 days, or no, what was it? 3 days?
Yeah, he was like 3 days.
3 days to edit YouTube. Mm-hmm. And then it took me a day and a half just to get the 2 videos that I'm going to post on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. And the editing software, you got to understand everything that's in there. These, you know what I mean?
But the good thing is, the more you use it, the faster you're going to get.
Yes. But I also realized too, like, how like it's just so much easier to keep it simple instead of adding all these spaces into it and all these stupid, emojis, bubbles, and all this editing and wave house and all that stuff. I just said, forget it. I'm just going to keep it simple and grainy, the way it is.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna trade notes.
Yeah. No, you know what? If you need anything, I'll give you all my strategies on marketing. It's pretty simple. But I've been in a business where I was like, one of my number one assets is the fact that I'm really good at marketing, but I never went to school for it, so I don't have a degree. I just know what people want. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Degrees are overrated.
They are very overrated.
That's a whole nother story we can talk about.
Yeah, that's on the next show. Yeah. But no,
just to give you a little teaser, I was going to college to be a teacher, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. I don't see you as being a teacher, man. I see you as being an out there bright light. You need your own stage, dude. Because you got a lot to talk about, a lot of interesting things. Like I said, the fact that you're into the history of Harlem, like, dude, I want to match it up with you on that, because there's probably some stuff that I don't know because I haven't done enough history search on it, just watching movies and knowing that that's the type of vibe I've always wanted,
Yeah.
But
I think both of us would have made it in Harlem back then. Yeah.
I do too, because I feel like I would have been friends with the people and I never would have wronged them. I mean, I made it out of the drug game alive here in this day and age, which they can find you a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it. Like Malcolm X was a part of the Harlem Renaissance, and that's when he made his conversion from gangster and pimp into leader,
politician, and Muslim.
Yeah,
he was in Islamic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love that kind of stuff, dude. I could literally sit here for days with you talking about that.
Good. We can make a series.
We got to do that again.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Maybe you'll have to go onto his podcast.
Yeah,
and do like a history buff.
Yeah, we could do like a special guest type stuff.
I'm with it.
We do that with Highly Irritable too. We've got a couple people we're going to bring in for special guests on, a couple like during fight week on a major fight. I have a friend of mine that's a boxer. He's a professional boxer. He's the heavyweight champ down in Mexico right now. So I'll bring him on as the specialist.
I think we need to wrap it up now.
For sure.
I'm gonna have some editing to do.
Yeah. No, and again, Sean, thank you so much for reaching out, because I wouldn't have reached out to you if you didn't reach out to me. But I'm so glad that the cosmic forces and God and all that good stuff brought us together, because we deserve to meet each other. And I appreciate you. You're a good man, good human being, and I like you a lot. And I'm glad that we connected like this.
Thank you, sir. So in that way, I'm going to end it like I normally end most of my episodes, with two questions. The first question is, if somebody came up to you and wanted to say, Adam, Marissa, I'm thinking about doing this podcasting thing, what advice would you give them?
You want me to go, or are you going to go?
I'll go. Just do it. Just start. You need to figure out what you want it to be about, the base of it, and then just start. Don't be afraid. If you spend too much time thinking about it and everything that could go wrong, or it's just not perfect yet, you're never going to start. So you just have to start.
See, I think get the mic, get the mic, get your mouth, and start talking. And don't care about what it is, what you want it to be. It's not going to be pretty. It ain't going to be nothing that you're proud of right off the bat. You're going to feel like a failure, and enjoy every single second of it, because it will come to you. And there, if you're going to start something, anything that you're chasing your dream on, number one, you can't have fear. And number two, you have to just love every minute of the fact that you are doing that.
Right.
Because most people don't, and they have that regret. I wish I would have done this. You didn't. You went and started a podcast. Just don't have the fear, get the mic, and start running your mouth and record everything.
Nice. All right, and the second thing is, how can all the listeners and the viewers get in touch with you, your websites, your social medias, all of the above?
So we are on, our website is super easy. It's highlyirritable.org is exactly how it's spelled. On Instagram, you can find us at Highly Irritable 1. And on our podcast, you can find us anywhere. Just Google it. You can Google Highly Irritable. We're everywhere now. We're on Pandora, the whole 9 yards. And then you need to answer that question for my listeners so they can listen to your show too as well.
Well, you can catch me on everything at Shawn Connors for right now, because I haven't separated it. We're working on that now. Website is under development. But Instagram is at Shawn Connors, all one word. Facebook is Shawn Connors. And you can search for the 757 Renaissance Man Podcast or the LVAD Talk podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your favorite podcast, because we both get down with Anchor, so we're everywhere.
Yes, sir. I opened up Buzzsprout too, so I picked up all their directories as well. I do recommend you do that.
All right, I'm gonna look into it.
Because Anchor kind of like limits you a little bit. So
yeah, and I think I'm getting to that point where we'll talk about that.
You definitely are, and I will help you with that. So we'll pull up a chat somehow, and we'll figure it all out, and I'll tell you which way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, well, at least what worked for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the 757 Renaissance Man Podcast. This is Adam Lee, Marissa Jane. I am Sean, and we are out.
And we are happy.